I guess this video is a response to OccamKant's video, God is worse than Satan. Part of the reason I made this was thanks to his encouragement to make a video that contrasts the Christian myths to the Roman ones. So here you go. Okay, so in Roman mythology, Pluto is somewhat like the equivalent to that of Satan. And much like Satan, Pluto is often thought to be somewhat of an evil character. Disney's Hercules, anyone? But is this reputation right? I don't think so at all. Let's start off with Jupiter, who basically plays the equivalent to Yahweh for Greek mythology. Now, one of the things Jupiter is very well known for is cheating on his wife Juno. And don't worry about feeling sorry for her, cause what she does to those unfortunate offsprings is even worse. But anyways, Jupiter will often go around cheating on his wife Juno. Back when I was a kid, I used to think Jupiter was the Bill Clinton of Roman mythology. And sometimes when Jupiter cheats with some other woman, they cooperate. If God demanded that you have sex with them, would you refuse? But in some instances, the female rejects Jupiter. One example being in some versions of the myth involving Alcmene, I think is how it's pronounced. The mother of Heracles, who I don't blame, seeing as she was already taken by Amphitryon, I guess? Notice the parallel of Heracles being raised by his stepmother Alcmene and stepfather Amphitryon to Jesus being raised by his biological mother Mary and his stepfather Joseph. So anyway, Jupiter does what he always does to women who refuse to cooperate. He rapes her! Some god he is. Now, being the evil god Pluto is, he must be a monster in comparison. Let's see what sort of things Pluto has done, shall we? Well, let's see. Pluto did have this one slip up when he kidnapped his niece Proserpina to be his wife. Seriously, he married his niece? Whatever. But, anyways. He did have permission from Jupiter to have her as his wife, so in a way, he did it with permission, though I guess it was a little bit uncalled for to go and kidnap her like that. So I guess that was a little bit naughty of him. But it's not like it was completely wrong. So, meh, whatever. And let's see what he has done when it comes to cheating on his wife. Oh, here's a story. He did once pursue a nymph named Minthe. Wait, it says Proserpina turned her into a mint plant. Get it? Minthe, mint plant? Heh. It seems Pluto gave up. I'll bet if it was Jupiter to win after her, he would have still tried to have his way with her. Ooh, now she's a mint plant. That means it'll be even easier to have sex with her. Anyway, the fact that Pluto quickly gave up says he really didn't care too much. And that if anything, Proserpina is the one who's being the mean one. But treatment of women aside, let's now examine the way they punish and reward people based on their actions. First up for Jupiter, we have a nice little story of Pandarius, who tried to steal some golden dog that was Jupiter's because a friend dared him. Jupiter turns him into stone for this. Come on, Jupiter. I know stealing is wrong, but don't you think that was a little bit too harsh? I guess not. And next up, we have Jupiter to punish Salmanius, ruler of Elis. What did he do, you might ask? Well, he went around imitating Jupiter. Hey, everyone, look at me! I'm Jupiter! I like cheating on my wife because she never heard of getting a divorce! Now our next one, which I'll admit was probably the only time he ever punished someone who really deserved it, and appropriately, we have Tantalus, who apparently tried to trick the gods into eating the flesh of his butchered son. Wow, I can only imagine how he tried to convince them to do that. Eat this, for it is my son's body. Jupiter sent him to hell as punishment. Which I guess is kind of fair. I mean, you murder your son and then try to feed him to the gods? Yeah, you kinda deserve to be punished and tortured. I can't really defend you there, Tantalus. You deserved it. But the next one is not at all justified or right. And this is also probably one of my favorites of the many tortures, punishments Jupiter gives out. Here, we have Iacson, who tried to seek Juno. Meaning that for once, Juno gets a chance to make a bit of a payback for all the times Jupiter cheats on her. Now she gets a chance to cheat on him with this Iacson guy. But no, Jupiter will not allow that for even a moment. How dare you try to cheat on my wife when I constantly cheat on her? For that, I'm gonna bound you to this wheel that apparently is flaming, and I guess it's constantly spinning around, so you'll be really, really dizzy all the time. Which probably would be true. He would be dizzy, but I kind of think that this is more of a punishment on Juno more than it is on Jupiter. Because now she doesn't get to cheat on him for once. When does Juno get her payback? All she ever does is torture the offspring and mother. Poor Juno. Oh, but wait a minute. Juno does once get a bit of punishment herself from Jupiter. You see, one time, she's trying to drown Heracles for the umpteenth time, and for once, Jupiter actually does something about it. What does he do, you might ask? He hangs her upside down from the sky. Wow. It's kind of, I don't know how to describe that, but it is a little bit of an interesting punishment. Yeah, you have to hang upside down from the sky. And it's about time he punishes her for all the things he does to Heracles. Seriously, is it just me, or does Juno have an obsession with Heracles over all the other offsprings? She doesn't even try to punish Perseus or any of the other gods, or demigods, or humans who were Jupiter's offsprings. In fact, she never once does anything involving Proserpina, though it's probably because the mom is her sister, but that's beside the point. So now that I've given you a basic idea of the things Jupiter does to people, whether it's him torturing people who didn't do really anything to deserve it, to even punishing his own wife in a rather cruel way, let's now see what Pluto has done. Because let's face it, he is Satan in a way. Okay, first off we have Perseus, who tries to kidnap Proserpina, claim on his wife. Wow, what a jerk. He probably does deserve to be tortured, in fact. So what does Pluto do? He has some snakes wrap around his feet, which apparently causes him to be unable to move from that place. It was kind of nice of you, Pluto. You didn't even torture him or anything. You just bind him to the ground with snakes. I mean, seriously. He tried to steal your wife. And quite honestly, I'd be pretty lucky if I was, Perseus. But that's about the only time he's really punished anyone. And also, I'd like to point out that, his nephew Heracles, for one of the 12 labors, needed to borrow Cerberus, his pet dog, the one with 3 heads. Pluto lets him. They say Pluto and Heracles don't get along that well. Go figure. So, in the end, Jupiter goes around punishing all these people harshly and for silly reasons, while Pluto, on the other hand, punishes one guy who deserves it, and otherwise is pretty nice in the long run. So why is Pluto thought to be the bad guy? That's what I'd like to know.